Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the report. I appreciate the information. I will tell you, when I was in the Indiana House, we did hold companies responsible for these massive breaches of identity theft, especially when a Social Security number was in the breach. And so we did have legislation, and we still do, and I think 17 or 18 other states now have it as well, holding private companies responsible. And if there's a breach, that the buck does stop with them for immediate information sharing, and in some cases, freezing credit reports. So my first question is on this information that as it's leaked to a veteran in my district, say their Social Security number was accessed, are any of those Social Security numbers redacted, or is this just free-flowing raw data that's going out the door?
It's unencrypted.
Well, we don't have knowledge of any specific cases of data loss other than the 2006 example. And in those cases, VA is responsible for providing credit reporting services to the veterans who have been harmed by this. But what we try to indicate that using unencrypted protocol, the risks remain, that the potential is there, and that VA needs to implement these proactive controls so these type of events do not occur going forward.
But in light of the answers to the various questions up here, there obviously has been more than just one incident in 2006 when that information has been available. And so, you know, I think about this in my district. I have 52,000 veterans in my district, and then their extended families. And I'm thinking, you know, if this happened in the private sector, they would automatically, this would have triggered just the suspicion and the not knowing would have triggered an automatic credit freeze to the people that would be living in my district. So, you know, I'm looking at this from the standpoint of saying, you know, sending out an APB when I get out of here that says to the 52,000 vets in my district, better check your credit report because we have no idea that your information has not been breached. And to continually check that. And as we continue to tell people, you know, to go access their VSOs and go access their facilities because of this long wait and you know the things we deal with on the veteran side, is how at risk they are with sharing that information in today's day with these violations. In the private sector, this type of an entity would never survive. The lawsuits that would come would shut them down because of private information being at risk and being taken and nobody responsible. So it's absolutely baffling to me that in addition to some of the other things that we've heard in this report, that the buck stops with the CIO, and we've had nothing but turnover, as you've reported, in this entity of this area of the VA to begin with. Has anybody ever been disciplined based upon the findings of your reports?
We can only make a recommendation. It's up to the department to take the administrative action. That's the extent of our authority.
Have any of your recommendations involved issues of employees or incompetence or training or things actually for the people who are actually working there taking this information?
Yes, I would say several, especially with our administrative investigations. It's looking at very specific personal accountability for actions.
And in those, are you asking specifically that supervisors and managers and CIOs and these kind of people that have been in charge of where the buck stops with this information, that they be disciplined if not terminated?
We make a recommendation for appropriate administrative action and then generally give a discussion with that.
And is the appropriate action usually termination?
The federal government would
I'm not familiar with the protocol. What is the appropriate action on something like this large of a risk to this many people?
You would have to look at the severity of the incident, determine the exposure, determine what the accountability was. Was it intent? Was there intent? Was this a mistake that they may not have been able to prevent? And then when you do that, you apply the Douglas factors for discipline actions in the federal government.
But my understanding would be in the last 10 years, based upon the previous questioning, that the 40 or so outstanding compliance issues that you have advocated that they follow, had those been followed in the last couple of years, we would have remedied this situation. So there has to be some kind of accountability still and disciplinary actions and buck stops someplace with this staff, correct?
We absolutely think the department should have implemented many of the FSMA recommendations and tightened controls early, and they would have less problems if they did that, less security incidents.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Warren, can you guarantee that the veterans in my district and the Indiana 2nd District have not suffered a security breach?
Ma'am, I'd be lying to you if I made that guarantee. Again, it is all about what the risks are, and we try our darndest. In fact, we do more than try our darndest.
But you can't guarantee that.
I can't, and in fact, nobody, if somebody sat here and guaranteed, you should haul them out of here.
All right, do you personally, sir, do you personally feel responsible for the fact that we have a nation of veterans that are vulnerable?
I care deeply that we are not further.
Do you feel personally responsible when you leave and check out at night and go home? Do you feel responsible for the fact that there are various security breaches in our whole nation's veterans are at risk?
Ma'am, I go home tired every night for all the things that I do.
Do you feel responsible for all the things that we talked about here today?
Ma'am, I'm personally responsible for the organization as the acting CIO.
Thank you.